Welcome to the Parkland Report. My name is Seamus Reilly. Joining me today, President Dr. Tom Ramage, President of Parkland College. Welcome to the Parkland Report.
Thanks, Seamus. It's nice to be here as usual.
It's hard to believe a year has passed already. It's incredible. We seem to have had a theme for the last couple of years of talking about construction, so I think we should probably do a little construction update. Of course. ATC is complete and opened, and it seems like it's been there forever, but since that is open, we have some other major construction projects going on campus.
Right. Seems like we're always in construction mode. Just as fast as we open a building and start classes in it, we're on to the next one. So you're right. We're starting our second year in the Applied Technology Center. It's open for business. The multiple programs live there. It's welding, the automotive programs, collision repair, and our industrial maintenance programs, all growing programs. Now have the opportunity to have students work on the latest pieces of equipment, the latest technologies, in conjunction with several business partners that obviously enhance the quality of our programs because students get access to the latest and greatest in terms of equipment and technologies and advice from those businesses in terms of what we're teaching in the classroom on a daily basis. But what we're doing right now, the Student Center, the Student Services Center, it's 113,000 square feet of all that student services space that's about 75% completed. So we have an anticipated completion date of February 14th. I think that's Valentine's Day, and it seems sort of appropriate. So we'll be moving in there in the spring semester, moving all those offices and departments and units that will be occupying the Student Services Center over the spring semester. Hopefully this summer we'll have it open for business, and most definitely by the next fall students will be enjoying that new building.
So that's going to be the much talked about coveted front door of the campus. But it also is going to serve as a sort of a space not just for student services but also for students to gather and meet, and a much more open kind of welcoming space. Yeah,
we've stolen all that space basically over the history of this campus, which opened in 1973. There was lots of student gathering space, lounge space, basically unassigned open areas for students to gather and study and talk and so forth. And we've taken all that space in the intervening years and converted it into classrooms or labs or offices or whatever we needed at that particular moment. So now we're down just to a few areas where students can hang out in between classes. The Student Services Center, the new Student Services Center, has lots and lots of open spaces that's just there, and then spaces where students can schedule a certain sort of activity room or a meeting room or a conference room, not to mention a food service area that's about 4 times the size of our current food service area, which will be a fantastic addition to campus. But yes, a giant front door on the east side of campus.
One of the advantages of the Applied Technology Center has been the ability to welcome members of the public and organizations and politicians in to see what we do. The Student Services Center is also going to have some space that will function very well, I think, for sort of incorporating events, live events, performance events, speakers.
Certainly.
As part of adding to the value for the community.
That front door has an atrium area programmed into it, so it's a nice big open area. So everybody who comes in that front door, if it's registration time, there's people sitting there that point you in the right direction and help you get started. But also if we decide to have some sort of event or a reception, an art gallery opening, for example, or even a Christmas party, we can assign that space and hold a bigger group than we have been able to hold on campus before.
Lots of opportunity then when this new building is open to retrofit some of the area that's left vacant, add more classroom and other office space that's needed. As part of that, and going on as we speak, is the biology labs remodeling, which is a significant remodel project for the college.
Right. We have not paid a whole lot of attention to the upkeep of our biology labs until very recently. The amount of, or number of students that are interested in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics fields are certainly growing. And we were limited in the number of students we could serve each semester by the number of biology labs that we had. So as the Student Services Center comes online, we're moving certain functions from the L wing, where the sciences are primarily taught, into that new building, and it allows us to free up some space. For example, the bookstore, which is a very large area, already has plumbing, already has the utilities that are nearby that would make it an easy conversion into a biology lab. So a number of spaces are being reclaimed and re-outfitted into new biology labs, as well as the existing labs are getting an upgrade, a facelift.
And it's incredible to think about how much advance there has been in the fields of natural sciences, but I mean the amount of jobs now that are sort of implied biological sort of connection or chemistry connection, and seems to be lots of opportunities, especially in a town area district that has a lot of hospitals, a lot of medical facilities.
Certainly. Well, the number of students who need a science course, biology in particular, as part of a gen ed package transferring to a university is fairly large. The number of health profession students that we have is very, very large, and most require some sort of biology, some level of biology, and match that with some, 1,500 or 1,600 concurrently enrolled University of Illinois students coming over for things like biology and calculus and chemistry, and those labs get significant use. Also,
another major area as part of the major sort of building plan, which master plan we've been working to complete, is on the fine and applied arts side. And so talk a little bit about the realignment of the fine and applied arts facilities.
Sure. Well, the worst facility we had on campus arguably was the S building, and I think many of our artists and engineering sciences folks who have operated out of that building, and certainly the students, would agree with it. It's a pole barn out there on the south side of campus. That we've had most of our art programs that deal with sculpture and pottery, the dirty arts they're called, the things that generally you make a mess while doing, have been housed out there. And in addition, the painting, the drawing, the cleaner arts have been housed in the basement of the D wing for a number of years. And the idea is to consolidate all those art programs into one well-done complex. So you're right, the next project we've started just this past summer is an addition to the C wing, which will hold all the art programs, graphic design, and also tie in a black box theater edition. So we're calling it the second stage, I believe is the name that's been arrived at. So we have a theater that's been in existence for a number of years. Right next to it is a very flexible black box theater that allows us to do a number of things. One, it becomes the classroom for our theater program. They've operated in the lobby of the theater, in the theater when they can, and a variety of other spaces around campus. So they'll finally have a home. Plus it's, like I said, a flexible space where we can do not only theater productions, but we can also have meetings, events, flexible seating. It's a big empty room that we can change the seating at will based on the type of production that's being performed or the type of meeting that's going to be held. So all that should be ready, knock on wood, by next summer.
So it'll be a lot easier to get around campus, probably from a parking point of view.
It has to be. It has to be. There's so many areas that are taken out of function right now with all the construction going on that next summer it should be a great thing.
All of these programs and additions to the campus in terms of development of the master plan really sort of fit with the mission moving forward of the college to try to accommodate a very changing economy, different types of expectations that people have in terms of career programs and transfer programs. These kinds of flexible spaces you talk about, this kind of sort of one-stop shop for welcoming students in, sort of fit with that, but also allow us to sort of think about how we can more readily react to the changing employer needs.
You know, it would be an interesting exercise to look back at the original plans for this campus, say 1970, right before it was completed, and see how much has changed in terms of walls and configurations and classrooms and so forth. In the intervening years. We have to be flexible. Programs change, especially on the technical side. The programs that were in existence at the beginning days of this college, very few of them are the same or even exist today. Things change too fast. And we would probably be foolish to design space that was very static, that we couldn't adjust and change and modify over the years as our program needs change and as technology changes, for certain.
You know, I know we had Senator Durbin on campus last spring talking about the sort of the ways in which community colleges were sort of built to react to and service student needs. We're very much in an interesting period in time in community colleges, both in our district and nationally. How do you feel about going forward in terms of Parkland's ability to respond to what seems to be a daily cry for community colleges to do even more, while at the same time there don't seem to be the same resources there either for students and or for facilities?
Certainly that's the challenge. You know, it feels different today. It feels like it might be a little bit more accelerated, a little bit more pressure on resources, perhaps a little bit less state support. We're coming out of a recession. The state of Illinois is obviously experiencing a budget crunch. But I don't know that that's much different than, say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. There was always something happening, whether it was on the national front or locally in terms of business needs, pressures to help students gain skills in this particular area as opposed to this area. I think those pressures have always been there. Today it seems a little bit more acute from the resource side. But from the programmatic side, how we think about what new programs we need, our conversations with employers when they tell us what they're, I don't think there's probably a lot of change that's happened there. We're always hearing about the soft skills. Employers talking about the need for students who have the very basic workplace skills, show up on time, work in teams, communicate, get along in the workplace. Over all the disciplines, whether it's transfer or a technical program. The skills upgrades required based on advances in technology, manufacturing processes, new businesses coming into the area. I think that's a chapter that we've read before. The names are changed this time, but I think that's one of the benefits or one of the hallmarks of a community college is the ability to change with the needs of the workforce, with the needs of the community far faster than perhaps any other sector in higher education.
Well, we'll talk about some of those changing sort of needs in terms of the workforce when we get back right after this quick break. We'll be right back with the Parkland Report.
Hey, Allison and Dylan, what if I told you could get a head start on college before you graduated high school and for little to no cost?
Well, I'd ask you what the catch is.
Yeah, how can I take college courses if I haven't even finished high school yet?
That's easy. You simply enroll in dual credit courses at Parkland College.
But won't that be expensive?
Yeah, will all the credits transfer?
Well, most four-year universities accept these credits, and you're actually saving money. Many times the high school will even cover the cost of the course.
I'm sorry, did I overhear you guys correctly? Did you just say that you could take college courses without paying college tuition?
Yeah, all we pay for is the course and the textbook, and we can earn college credit towards getting our degree.
You guys are catching on. The credit works toward a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, and even toward career certificate programs.
I like the sound of this.
I don't know, this all sounds great, but I already have a busy schedule and I won't have time to drive to classes.
You won't have to. Parkland offers a number of dual credit courses online, in addition to the on-campus courses. Some of the courses are even taught in your high school.
You mean to say that one of the high school classes I'm taking right now could work as a dual credit course as well?
Yes, you should talk to the school counselor to see which classes are offered as dual credit in our school. Then all you need to do is apply to Parkland, and once you're accepted, fill out the application to the dual credit program. You'll need the signature of your parents and advisor for this.
That sounds easy enough, but are there any requirements to being eligible for dual credit?
Yes, you must be a junior or senior in high school, age 16 or above, in order to be eligible for dual credit courses. You can print an application online or visit Parkland's admissions office to pick one up.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to see the counselor right now.
Yeah, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity.
Me neither.
Welcome back to the Parkland Report. Joining me, Dr. Tom Ramage, President of Parkland College. Tom, we're talking about some of the things related to workforce development and adjusting to the needs of the community. You know, we just finished our self-study, a very successful visit from the Higher Learning Commission. Some of those things came into focus as we begin to look at what we do on a day-to-day basis. How do we move forward in serving the community? Great successful visit, exciting new time moving ahead for our Higher Learning Commission relationship with the Open Pathway, which is a different way of assessment. We are now asked to do more, which is fine, we're good, able to do it. A different level of measurement, metrics. We've been a part of that for a long time. I know you were part of the voluntary framework, accountability. This is something that's relatively
Yes, it's a different focus. One of the things that bothers me about the whole discussion is the direction going forward from the Higher Learning Commission, from our state agencies, from foundations that are interested in higher education, deals with the word accountability. How many students are starting as freshmen and finishing 2 years later with a degree or a certificate, or how many are transferring on, and we call that accountability. The discussion presumes that we haven't cared about it in the past, and all of a sudden now the focus is on it, therefore we must not have been paying very close attention to it in the past. Parkland, and I'll speak for Parkland alone, has always had a focus on retention, persistence, graduation, completion, whatever the student defined as success. The problem we have in the community college world when compared to a university is that it's very easy to look at a graduation rate, for example, just across town at the University of Illinois. Their selection process for freshmen is very high. The ACT scores required to get in are fairly substantial, actually very substantial. So you're starting with a very homogeneous group of students in terms of achievement. They've got a history of achievement, probably a history of support, a history of family support of some sort that helps them get to the university's doorstep. Students that come to Parkland College, the 10,000 or so we see each semester, come from a vastly different set of experiences, from very similar to a freshman at the U of I to somebody who has never stepped foot on a college campus before and needs a significant amount of support to make it through the process. Mix in continuing adult students who have been in the workforce for 10 or 15 years and come here for a class or two to upgrade their skills, to make themselves more promotable at whatever position they're working at. Their goals are vastly different than the traditional freshman entering right out of high school. So when somebody comes to Parkland, spends a semester here and takes those 2 or 3 classes that they want, earns their A or B, and goes back to work and earns that promotion, in my mind, that's a gigantic success. The student got what they needed, they accomplished their goal. The problem is it counts against Parkland. That student is viewed as a failure, both at the state and the federal level. Now that story is changing a little bit, hopefully, but that's a non-completer. That's a person who didn't stay with the institution and earn that certificate or degree. So how do we account for that very large number of students who transfer onto the university before they earn a degree, or that adult coming back, or the person who earns a GED and is able to go out into the workforce immediately, or the student who is in a very in-demand technical program and gets 20, 30 credit hours into it and can't resist that job offer that comes from an employer who desperately needs that student. They have enough skills to enter the workforce and decides that's what's best for them at that time. Those are all failures in terms of an accountability measure. So my hope is that the Higher Learning Commission and the foundations and the state organizations that gauge our performance will take those sorts of things into account.
I think Parkland has been proactive in thinking about ways in which we can both, you know, sort of meet those measurements a little bit easier, but also meet the needs of our students to have some success.
Absolutely.
And so, for example, in our stackable certificates, where we have a shorter certificate where a student can come in and earn a certificate, I mean, that sort of helps both the student and it also helps to sort of give the general public a better measurement of what it is that we do.
Certainly, right. If you can come in and earn your CNA in 6 credit hours and then move on to an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, in another year, and then move on to your registered nurse, your ADN program in another year or so, and work your way toward that credential, I think that's a far better thing. Certainly it provides those milestone points for our students, and that's very motivating to a great number of them.
And our student population continues to be as diverse as it was. Increased numbers in dual credit, more students in high school looking either on the career technical side to get some classes which are no longer really available with the same level of equipment. And then students who are looking to get a head start on college and looking at an economic point of view. Parkland is well served to meet both of those constituents.
I think that's a growth area for a number of reasons. Number one, mom and dad at home are finding out more about dual credit and dual enrollment in greater numbers than perhaps in the past. And I think that comes from a greater participation or greater collaboration with our 27 area school districts in terms of when a student indicates an interest in an electronics career. The high school isn't necessarily equipped these days to have a full-time electronics program or industrial maintenance program or an automotive program on their campus. Well, Parkland perhaps can serve that role. Now there's issues to work out in terms of transportation and logistics and all those little details that seem to get in the way, but that dual credit program certainly is growing. We're seeing greater numbers, maybe 800 or so this last semester than we've ever seen before. And I think as more and more students get involved and more parents understand the value of dual credit, certainly the counselors and the principals and the superintendents at the schools know the value of it. The employers will certainly help when a student understands that a one-year certificate in industrial maintenance can start you at a $50,000 a year job at the craft plant. And the craft plant is a vastly different place than what perhaps the people's conception of a factory job might be. If you've toured craft, and I know you have, it's a pretty high-tech place.
You know, while we're very conscious of what the immediate workforce needs are, we're also very much in step with what we've always done in terms of transfer with our partner institutions in the state and outside of the state. And a lot of our students now making very successful transitions to four-year schools.
Right. More than half of our students transfer on to a four-year institution somewhere, primarily in Illinois. And the best news there is we get grade point average results, GPA results from students who have spent a semester or two at that transfer destination, and they tell us how our students do compared with native students, meaning students who start at the university as a freshman, as well as transfer students from all across the state. And the best news there is that unfailingly, Parkland students do better than their peers, either other transfer students or students who started as native freshmen at the university in terms of grade point average. And I think that's the best statistic that I can possibly think of to talk about how well our faculty prepare students for transfer.
Yeah, there's no question that we have a fantastic record. I want to touch on one other thing that sort of, as we have added building and space and technology, and we're constantly trying to get the best equipment and try to match what the employer needs are out there. A program which you introduced last year, and which is now about to have its first deadline for applications, is the IDEAS, the Innovation Fund program, to encourage our faculty and staff to work on ways in which we can continue to meet the needs of students, maybe come up with more creative ways to do it. Can you talk a little bit about the concept and what your hopes are for it?
Well, it's called IDEAS, but it's certainly not a new idea. It's something that's been tried and tested in a variety of ways in a variety of different industries. But the basic concept is if you bring together a group of folks, and in our case it's faculty and staff and administrators, from a variety of different departments and different interests and different expertise, and to get them talking about a particular topic, a goal, a benchmark, a point, an achievement point that we want to hit. That cross-disciplinary communication, discussion, brainstorming has to yield something better than me sitting in my office by myself thinking something. And I don't mean me necessarily, but I mean the Parkland employee. regardless of the size of the issue, it could be a very, very small thing. How do we improve some aspect of the energy plan for the college? How do we improve student retention rates in a specific program or even a specific course? Or how do we link 2 computer screens on our institution-wide data management system to make more sense, or to simplify the flow of information or the flow of a process across campus? It could be something that needs a $5 investment or a $50,000 investment. What I've asked folks at the college to do is to get together in those groups, identify an issue that they want to work on, base the solution that's proposed in some sort of reality, whether it's research that already exists, a model program at a different institution, and try it out. Test it on a small group of students or a small test group of some sort, and see if it works. And if it does, we'll scale it up. We'll double the size of it, for example, the next year, until we can prove efficacy and institutionalize that program. That investment in that group's ideas, I think, has the potential to make a significant contribution to our goals at the college.
So many things going on the campus, so many different programs, so many interesting things going on. It all seemed to me, whether it be in sustainability or whether it be the entrepreneurship program or whether it be in sort of student groups and different organizations and clubs, all seem to be moving in the general direction of sort of student success.
Absolutely.
And trying to make sure that our students are as successful as they can be.
Unequivocally.
It looks like it's going to be another fast-paced year. We're looking forward to it. And
it's the best kind of year, isn't it?
It is indeed. It makes time go by quickly. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure.
That's it for this edition of Parkland Report. We'll see you back here next time.